To start this reflection, shake it out a little bit just so you feel like you're standing naturally and you're not putting extra emphasis on anything. So while you're standing naturally, you can close your eyes if it's helpful. We're going to just start to pay attention to what's happening in our body today while we're standing. Starting with the feet. Is the body weight in the toes or is it more in the heels? Just observing and not judging, right? Just paying attention. Also paying attention to whether there's more body weight on one foot rather than the other. Going up a little bit and just feeling if our calves are taking more body weight than our shins, or maybe vice versa, the shins feel overworked. Moving on to our knees. Do our knees feel hip width apart, or do they feel like they're bowing out or maybe collapsing inward? Moving towards the pelvis. Do you feel like your pelvis is anteriorly tilted, or maybe you're too posteriorly tilted and tucking under? Where are your hands? Are they touching your body the same way on both sides, or is one side making more contact with your leg than the other? Or maybe another part of the hand is touching one side of the leg rather than the other. Moving upstream, how do the ribs feel? The spine? Do you have those natural curves in the spine, or do you feel like you might be rotated or overly flexed in one position? Going up to your shoulders, do they feel nice and sitting back, or do the shoulders feel like they're slouched and kind of hunching over? And the neck and the head, does the neck feel nicely sitting on top of the shoulders, or do you feel like you might be a little bit forward and the head is putting more weight on your body? The goal with this reflection is not to change anything, and especially not to judge anything. We're just observing to see how we're standing, maybe before we start an exercise routine or after, to see how things have changed after we did some exercises. In this exercise, we're going to raise our target leg. We're going to keep it bent so the knee and ankle are aligned, and as is the knee and hip. And then we're going to start doing circles for a minute. So first we're going to go in the clockwise direction with our ankle circles. And we're going to go not too fast, as slow as we need, in order to really feel like we're going through the entire range of motion with our ankle. Also notice how my off leg, so my left leg on this side for this exercise right now is straight, and the toes are also pointing up, right? So we want to keep that other leg active as we do these ankle circles. And as you do these circles, you want to make sure you maintain alignment. Don't let the ankle fall too low or too high as you do the circles. And that was a minute. So now we're going to go in the other direction with the same ankle. And notice how my hands are holding on to my hamstring here. So we're not really trying to work the hips here. You can really relax the upper body and relax the leg, the lower part of the leg, while you really just zero in on the ankle here. And notice if this is hard for you, right? I mean, it's a hip course, but as I always say throughout the course, nothing in the body works in isolation, right? So if you can't even finish a minute on both directions here with this first ankle, that tells you that the ankles are really weak, right? And you need to put some attention and focus here, in addition to the hips, which are most likely the symptomatic area of your body. So once we finish the circles, we're going to do 10 reps of point and flex, right? So we're just going to point the ankles down into plantar flexion and then point the toes up into dorsiflexion. And we're going to do 10 reps to finish off this side of the leg. Okay, now we're going to do the other ankle, and we'll start going in the clockwise direction. And notice if when you get to this side, it feels different, right? Maybe it's a little bit more rusty or a little bit, more difficult to get through that entire range of motion. I know for me, the right side gets fatigued easier, but the left side just feels a little bit more stiff when I try to, go through the whole range of motion here. So things to pay attention to, and the more you work on these, the more they'll balance out. But it's still helpful to observe and to pay attention. The ankle and knee are pretty aligned here. I might have went a little higher than I wanted to watching me again, just so keep that ankle aligned with the knee if this is happening to you. And that is a way the body's going to want to compensate, right? If your ankle's starting to fatigue or get tired, it will start trying to come up higher because that takes away some of the tension in the ankle muscles. And pay attention also to what area of the ankle is fatiguing more. For me, I know it's the shin muscles always. I'm just super weak there. But for you, maybe it's the calf, or maybe it's like the foot muscles, right? So be mindful of what's happening in the ankle and what muscles are getting the most tired as you go through this relatively simple, or should be simple, exercise. But it doesn't mean it's simple for you, because it can be hard if the body does not have a lot of function yet. Slowish pace, even if we're coming to the end here. We want to finish strong and not cheat, even though we may be getting some burning in that ankle already. Okay, so that's a minute, and now we're going to finish off with some point and flexes on that left ankle. And once you do 10 point and flexes here, we can come out of this exercise. Good job. Lay face down on your stomach and spread your legs out and make the diamond shape with your arms above your head like I'm doing in the video. And then we're going to start with the right arm, and we're just going to gently raise the right elbow up into the air and then down. This may not seem like much, but that's okay. That's the point. We're teaching the brain and body how to communicate. We don't want the neck involved. We don't want other limbs involved. We don't want the pelvis or low back doing anything in this movement. The key here is less. Less is okay. Just think about raising the right elbow, using the shoulder and upper back muscles with each rep. When that elbow comes down, pay attention to what else was happening. Maybe the neck was helping out. Maybe the neck was doing something weird, or the low back was doing something weird. See if you can, on the next rep, see if you can slow it down, get less range, and really isolate the muscles of that right shoulder and upper back. Let's switch over now to the left side and see if you can coordinate the lift of the elbow with the breath. So what we want to do is exhale as we lift. So when we come down, we take another breath, and when we breathe out, we lift that elbow into the air. Also, of course, as always, pay attention to how different the left side feels compared to the right side. It may feel substantially different, and if so, that's something to pay attention to and notice how that changes. If this is very easy for you, then that's also something to know, right? But if it's hard for you, think about what this means if such a gentle and easy movement is a challenge, or things get stiff, or things get numb when performing this simple movement. We know that it's something that we need to work on and something that we need to get better at. So about a minute, minute and a half on each side is good for this, and you can really do this at any time, right? It's a nice way to reset and connect that brain to the body a little bit better. So great job for today. This is the prone elbow raise. Lay on your back with your legs spread and your arms spread above your head. And I'll warn you now, this exercise is harder than it looks. So, as I just showed you, you're going to lift your left arm and left leg at the same time. Try a few without thinking about much, and you'll notice that it may not feel that comfortable, right? So what we want to do is really make sure that the low back here isn't arching when we lift. We want the low back to flatten. If the low back flattens and pushes against the ground, it means that the core, that chest is helping us get this movement. So lift as low as you need, right? Don't lift very high. You don't need to go for a home run here. In the beginning, you're just trying to coordinate that left side of your body. You want to make sure that you're not just lifting with your hip flexors or your arm muscles, but that the torso is also helping you. Imagine that the torso is closing, right? That left arm and left leg are closing together when you get the rep. So shake it out a little bit, and we're going to try on the right side now. Same thing. The right side might feel a little different than the left side, so take note of that. And every time you lift and when you come down, just reset a little bit and pay attention to what felt like it was engaging. The most important area that we want working for us in this movement is the torso, right? The chest and the core. So if the leg is helping too much, or if the shoulder's working too much, just note that. If the neck is working too much, take note of that. This is a difficult exercise, and it'll take time to get the hang of it. So don't get frustrated if it doesn't click right away. Take your time and notice how it changes as you continue working through it. Good job for today. For this exercise, we're going to wrap a strap right above our knees, and we're going to keep our heels relatively close to our butt. Not too close, but about 6 inches or so. Then we're going to come back on the ground, and we're going to make sure our pelvis is in a nice level position. If not, adjust. And from there, we're going to try to squeeze the glutes and lift the hips into the air while also pushing out into the strap. And for some people, the strap is really helpful for them to finally find the glutes in this hip extension position, hip extension movement. For some, it might feel a little awkward and you might feel the knees or the calves or something like that, but that's okay. Just keep doing the reps with the intention of getting the glutes pushing out and going into extension up. And in time, you should be feeling what we want you to feel in the glutes. If this is your first time doing this exercise, it may feel pretty intense and those glutes might finally start contracting and you might get some shaking. And if that's the case, then don't feel like you need to be in here for the whole 2 minutes. If 1 minute or even 90 seconds is enough, just next time work your way up to 2 minutes, and definitely note that, somewhere in a journal or maybe remember that, pushing out really helps you engage those glutes. And that's a really helpful observation. Of course, we'd eventually want to get those glutes in different positions, but for now, that's definitely a great step. Another important point next time you do this exercise, and even still while you're doing it now, is to pay attention to what the rest of the body is doing, right? Is it the neck and shoulders that want to contract and tighten, or is it the glutes that are doing most of the work? So we're coming up on 2 minutes here, and that's good for the glute bridge with strap. To start this exercise, place a yoga block between the knees. Make sure the pelvis is level, and we'll set the timer for 2 minutes. We want to contract the glutes while we're going up, bringing the hips into the air, while also squeezing the yoga block between our knees. What this will do for many people is that this side sensation or this side goal of squeezing the yoga block will help also get the glutes contracting in hip extension, which is ultimately what we want. So if you've done the glute bridge with the strap and now you're doing the glute bridge with the yoga block, pay attention to what feels more challenging for you, what feels like it's easier to get the glutes in, and you ultimately want to get good at both, right? But if you're having trouble, or if you've historically had trouble contracting the glutes in a bridge, spend some time on the one that's finally getting you to feel those glutes, right, in this movement pattern. And from there, you can then move on to the other one. But let's get good at the basics first. Let's get good at contracting our glutes in the bridge, which you may have never felt before doing it with this type of added stimulus. And as always, we're paying attention to what the rest of our bodies are doing. It's very common for the shoulders to come up towards our ears, for our neck to tighten, for the core to try to help out. Maybe something in the legs are happening. So see if you can relax that and really put more attention on the inner thighs and the glutes, helping you get into this hip extension position. And we're getting to about 2 minutes here, so good work. So set up this position with the wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. You're then going to walk your hands up about a hand length forward. So your hands are a little bit in front of your shoulders when the exercise starts. You're going to shift your hips a little bit forward, and then you're going to sink into your shoulders. So you're going to put all the body weight down and bring your shoulders back. You're going to retract your shoulders. You're going to let the hips fall forward, and you're going to let the head and neck relax down. So your neck is not doing anything here, and your elbows stay locked. They stay straight. And all the body weight, imagine all the body weight going behind you, right? Falling into your scapula and your hips. For most people, this is going to be most intense in the shoulders, right? With the retraction and pulling the shoulders back and the body weight going there. But some people may also feel this in the hips, right? As those hips come forward and drop into more of an anterior tilt, you may feel the hip flexors working as well, and that's okay. And the reason why this is called all fours is because both sides of the hips and both sides of the shoulders are evenly taking body weight here. So it's a great way to build back function and stability in all 4 points of support. It may also feel difficult to keep those elbows straight, right? Because that's going to take some muscular effort and require some shoulder strength as well. So notice if you start getting lazy with your elbows and losing slack there. You want to make sure you keep those elbows nice and straight. And keep that neck relaxed. I could probably, watching myself do this now, I could probably even drop my head down even more. If I was in the room with myself watching this or doing this, I would put my head down a little bit so that neck could relax even more. But this is fine if you're here as well. And don't forget to breathe. Breathe through the belly. Just pay attention, observing what's going on, but not judging. And if 2.5 to 3 minutes is hard, eventually you want to work yourself up to about 3 minutes here. But it's okay to start with a minute or 90 seconds or 2 minutes and work your way up to staying in here for longer. So this is the all fours position. Shake it out a little bit and let's just stand in our standing posture and notice what changed after the workout. Are our hands making contact with our legs differently? Maybe one side was making more contact before, but now it's a little bit more even. Do you feel more balanced on one side of the body than the other? Maybe before one foot was taking more body weight, but now it's a little bit more even. Do the shoulders feel like they're sitting back more? Do you feel less body weight in the heels or the toes now? So just pay attention to how anything you noticed in the initial standing reflection changed after the workout now. And maybe even write it down and pay attention, because this is a great and meaningful observation to find something that changed after a workout. So keep that in mind as you continue your workouts.